into the party wagon and hold on to your pizza. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Epic Tales from the Sewers. I'm your host, Justin. Here with me, as always, is my co-host, Eric. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself, there, Justin?
Doing great, man. We were just hitting it out of the park with these guests lately, right?
Definitely are.
And another great guest today. Today, we're joined by the creator of the YouTube page, Teddygaming Review. The page is a combination of both comic book reviews, interviews, and a series of motion comics. So you know it's got my interest. He has an audio version of the show called Turtle Talks. I want to welcome our guest all the way from across the pond, Teddy. How are you doing, Teddy, from Teddy Game Review?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on. It feels a bit weird to be one answering the questions.
I know. I was thinking that too, and I'm like, this is going to be a total juxtaposition for him because now we get to interview you about what you do. So I'm going to try to make you as comfortable as possible while making you as uncomfortable as possible.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for classing up the joint too with that wonderful accent of yours too. So. You know, you've got an excellent speaking voice, and I have had a chance to listen to a lot of the episodes of the audio podcast, and actually, just I think I even mentioned to you on how much I liked your reunion show for the 2003 Turtles. That was a really good show. Well done.
Glad you enjoyed it.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can you tell us a little bit about your page, Teddy Gaming Reviews? What's it about? Like, just kind of give us an idea of the page.
So I'll say that mainly my channel, it deals with like tolls across all different versions, TV shows, movies, comics. I'd say like mainly more in the comics. And I would say recently, that's probably the worst time to ask this sort of question, but I sort of like transition like the content over to do like more like motion comic stuff. So that's sort of like the plan which I'm sort of hoping for it to go in, but it's sort of just like that transition period.
It's really cool. How did you get into Turtles? To just kind of like, what's your Turtles origin story? Because you're clearly a little bit younger than we are. You know, I'm a little bit older than Eric is too. So I go back to like the original '87 cartoon and the Turtles Adventure comics. Where did you jump onto the Turtles fandom?
Okay, so when I was 3 years old, I was around a friend's house, and I was playing with a 2007 McDonald's toy. And my parents basically couldn't get me home until they more or less convinced me that they had their own toys. And after that, watched the 2003 TV show and loved that bit way too much. And then I'll say that when the 2012 show came out, I was sort of at the right age, and that was all perfect. But then I don't know. I think sort of ran out of time. I sort of like fell off a little bit from the toy community, but I was still watching and enjoying it. But then when I found out that basically my town has a comic shop, I went there and started getting the comics, and that's more or less like where I got back into it. And I'd say that's sort of ruined my life now because of how much I'm dedicating it to.
And isn't it crazy too that it's like when you were a kid and 2012 cartoon series comes out, at that point that comic series is still going on. Which is like, wow, it's never done this before. The Mirage comics didn't go this far. The later Mirage, like the Tales of the TMNT and all that, they didn't go this far. So it's like we're kind of in that golden era. So it's good to have you back in the fandom. You know?
Yeah.
What got you into doing the motion comics? Because this is kind of like with all the motion comics. I've seen there's like a fair amount of technical skill required for that. Like I couldn't do that personally. You're kind of a Donatello of sorts, with your technical aspects here. How did you get started in motion comics?
Okay. So last year there was a fan comic that was released for the 2003 show called The Shredder Wars, and I saw the first issue and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I thought, because I know that my kind of, and we do this like reading comics, but I thought that just my voice alone would not do it justice. So I thought I'll get in some people, and I'll say that like while doing that one, I was very I would say that there's a lot of things which I could have improved upon. But I'll say that because I mean, also with the voice actors, I was sort of just more or less I just like anyone who auditioned, I try to get in one, but and then afterwards it's all spiraled out of control really because I really enjoyed that one. Then I did a Jenica one, which that one did really well, and then afterwards it just kept spiraling out of control, and now I'm just working with really incredible and talented people.
Yeah, I like the Jenica one a lot. I'm a huge Jenica fan, and I mean, a lot of the times it's when it comes up and people talk about Jenica, I am just like an avid rabid fan, and I'm like, Jenica's awesome. You don't even understand. So
Yeah.
I have yet to get to Jenica in the comics because I think I was just telling Eric we're on issue 17, 18, and 19, which is the Neutrino War. So I'm man, 40 something away before Jenica becomes even a character. And of course, with doing Last Ronin and all that, we didn't have a Jenica voice in that at all. But so you're kind of the director here. You're like the actual
Yeah.
vocal director. Are you an aspiring voice actor yourself?
Um. With that, okay, oh god, so with that, as a kid, I always wanted to be a voice actor, but I'll say that because of my subtitles, I felt like a lot of limitations, and was like but like, I've always like really did enjoy doing voices and all that. And when it does come to these motion comics, I don't tend to put myself like in the main spotlight because I know that I'm not as talented as all the other people. But I prefer to do all the little like one-off characters, and they have some very unique voices.
Oh yeah, it was funny. I was watching that 2003 uh, cast mate that you had on, and what really stuck out to me is every time, and I forget what his name is, but the gentleman that played Fugitoid, every time it would come to him, I'm like, oh my god, this guy is oozing charisma, and he's always got a different voice that he's doing. And I'm like, this is just amazing. And what was he the gentleman that played Casey Jones, Townsend, right? Um,
Oh yeah,
Oh man, just
Mark
like when
Thompson.
he pulled that out, and I'm just watching him do the video. He's doing the Hey April, I'm like, oh man, I loved it. So I understand, and I understand the that the creative nature to like put something together and not necessarily be the main focus of it. I totally get that. Yeah, but I mean, directing is a creative process unto itself too, and I mean, it's really appreciated when you can do everything and put it together so nicely. And the stuff that you have up there available to see. They're like bite-sized chunks, like 4 minutes and 50 seconds or something like that. And it's like a little vignette from a comic. I'm like, this is great. I was just watching one before I got Eric on. It was Mikey and Renette. And, I guess she was popping up because he wanted to go to a comedy club or something. I think it's a TMNT Adventures book from like the 2012 series or something. I'm like, this is so cool. And I love the way like all the voices kind of mixed together. I'm like, you did a really good job with that, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and it's great. When I started doing the podcast, like the idea was to read through the stories and kind of do it because some people can't read the stories, they don't have them, or maybe someone wants to listen to them with their kids or just enjoy it, or maybe someone's visually impaired. You never know, and there was just nothing like that. And I've not seen anything as unique as your motion comics, so that's why I was like really excited to get you on. So, and we talk enough on Instagram, so you know. What voices do you do? Like, because you had mentioned like funny voices and stuff like that. Is there anything that you do? Do you do any impressions? How about that?
Um, yeah, I mean, I try to do just one-off type characters, but like sometimes they just still sound the same. I could do like dragons and like all that like magical side of things. Two voices which I did do, which were a bit amazing, I would say. One of them, which was in one of the 2012 ones, I did a comic frog voice for, I'm pretty sure it was for like one, like like an army soldier. And then for a Jenica one, I did a Stitch voice. But the thing is with that is that I've never seen Lilo and Stitch before, so
Okay. Well, our family, like stuff like that.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. I could have seen you pulling off Vlad. Like I don't know if he's got that sort of like British affectation about his voice, but I mean, I could have seen that, like maybe they gave him something a little bit different. So, but I think Vlad's in the first series, right? He's
Uh,
the bat or ape or something.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, is interesting. So that's pretty cool. I had mentioned that you're kind of a Donatello. Who's your favorite turtle? That I have to know.
Oh,
That's a must.
Yeah,
mm,
It's a
Eric
I'd
and I
must.
have a
That's a
bet
must
always.
question on the show. It's a must
so
Yeah.
question on the show.
I mean, growing up has always been Raphael, but I would say I don't know. It's one of those weird things because even though overall my favorite turtle is Raphael, it's it like varies on like the version of turtles. Like for IW, I think it'd be Jenica. For Rise, it'd be Donatello.
Wow.
But I think like overall is more Raphael. But
Good answer.
but
Good
I
answer.
mean, I mean, I mean, I must admit, like everyone which I've like spoken to, they always say basically, oh, and like this character is like as a child, but then like now they're and liking all these other ones, and I sort of like sort of see it because like I mean, just because I say do have like the personality traits of the other ones, but I don't know, I just like Raphael too much.
I totally get that. And that's like Mr. Eric over here. We go back and forth because I am a very adamant Leo fan. I like every version of Leo the best. Leo is not just one of my favorite turtles, he's one of my favorite comic characters. Like I put him up there with like Batman and Daredevil. Mr. Eric over here, wait, over here is that way with Raph. What attracts you to Raph there, Eric? Why do you go after that character?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I used to be a hothead. That's just me. I was always a hothead whenever I was younger. Of course, I've grown older, and he grows older and kind of gets a little bit mature about some things, and
Oh, now he's the ladies' man. I mean, seriously, he's not the hothead. He's just
yeah.
like the cool guy riding a bike with a girl on the back, and everyone's like, "Wow,
But
when's his mixtape come out?"
one of the things I know Raphael did was grow, and I've grown. You know, and you make he made some stupid mistakes. Younger, and he grew from them. So I mean, I don't know. It's just something always really, really just I just felt like I was attached to him just because of his whole demeanor, his attitude, the way he carries himself. I mean,
He's got depth. I mean, it's one of those things like red is the color of passion, and
well, that's
you know
that's
he,
that's my
that's
favorite color.
what he does. He's
Hmm.
he's passionate about everything. He's passionate about his family, passionate about his mission for
Hmm.
justice, and a lot of times that he just sees that red. We go back to
Yep.
that Ben Bishop cover of Raph with all the tubes sticking out of him from the micro series there. Woof, it's a hell of a book. So I totally get it.
Amazing.
And actually, that shows up in our logo thanks to our lovely logo. Ernest, he actually put that on there and the Last Ronin, so that was pretty fun.
Wow.
Straight here. Straight here.
Wow, that's
So,
amazing.
so you had mentioned Teddy that the 2003 series was a really big influence on you. Do you have a standout episode or anything that maybe was like, oh, this is like the epitome, this is the peak, this is my favorite moment of this 2003 series?
Um, I mean, I think one like big standout episode is I'd say is Ancient One, just because I can't put that one into words of just how good it is for like developing Leo. But on like a personal like top 10 or something, it's always been hard for me. It's between Dragons. I think it's Dragons Rising and Total Extinction. I don't know why, but I just love those episodes so much.
I was a big fan of when they did the Donatello one with Kirby in it, and I can't think that I've ever seen something so close to the source material where they had it. I'm like, this is like straight off the page from the Donatello miniseries. This is so good. And then they go and they did the Mirage series issue number 8 without Cerberus, but they have Renette and they have the Time Lords and Savanti Ramiro and all that. And I'm like, oh my god, this is exactly Turtles number 8 without Cerberus. This is so cool. So they did some really, really good stuff in terms of like adapting it from the books. I was hoping we get to see some of my favorite stories from there, but it didn't quite make it to like the crazy parts where Don makes a mech and they're fighting vampires. It's like, okay, well, I guess we didn't get there, but we got pretty close. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, wasn't it
That's
more?
awesome though.
Wasn't like the 2003 like more of like Peter Laird's input on that?
Yes.
I mean, obviously we could tell that it was his style of turtles. I mean, that's just the vibe that I mean. That's what I read up, and that's the vibe I got too. Was the way his style of turtles. It was, I mean, him and Eastman's style of turtles are different, as you can tell. But
Yeah.
I could. I mean, you can obviously tell it was a Peter Laird was a huge influence
Oh yeah.
on this one.
And speaking of the voices that you had on there, and this may be an unfair question to ask you, so
Oh no.
you can limit it to any era that you want. But do you have a distinct version of the turtle voices that you hear in your head? Like, is there one that stands out to you where it's like, yeah, that's my Donatello, that's my Raphael, anything like that? Like, have you gotten to that point, or it would also be fair for you to just say, you know what, my definitive version is the 2003.
Yeah, it is. I think, but
It
because
is
I've
okay.
watched it too much, I just can't like hear anyone. I mean, I will say this: like all the other voice actors for like all the version titles, I think that like they're good for like that version of Turtles and it fits that version of Turtles. But I just don't think anyone can really beat the 2003 Turtles for me.
That's totally fair, and I get that. That Casey to me is perfect. There is like that's the one I hear in my head when hey, come on, Raph, and it's got like this lightness to it where it's like it doesn't sound exactly like Raphael, and it's not like the 2012 where it's Josh Peck, and it's not like the Hey Lawbreakers, the Clint Eastwood version. So, but to me, that's
Yeah.
like even more so than Chris Evans. It's like this is the perfect Casey Jones. Like they nailed him down and distilled it into like this perfect little piece, and it's like that should be the standard, like the Joker played by Mark Hamill. So, and I know that's like an extravagant thing to go to like one little piece, but we're passionate nerdy fans. Of course we're going to. So, and I mean, there's a lot of things that I like from that series. I think that for me, like Shredder was absolutely terrifying, and I love the way they portrayed his voice. But on the other hand, like Splinter for me, I feel like we've had a better Splinter. Like it was just a little too whispery for me, as opposed to like the Turtles' voices. Um, do you find that across the board that there are some characters you're like, even though it's not the Turtles, it'd be like, well, I kind of like this better than that, or is it
Um,
just still straight across 2003?
I'm not too sure. Just because just because like if you look at like Case in April, that's all. I wouldn't really say. I mean, that's all like depends. Like if you like the like adult April or teenager April. So I think sometimes it varies and depends on like what that like different versions have done. But I do think that for the majority of the characters, it will mainly be 2003. But I do think like some like 2012 ones. I do think that Splinter and Shredder. I think that they have like the better voice. They just work for some reason.
Yeah, that Splinter from the 2012 version is just something special. I feel like it just kind of like for me at least it's like very transcendent. It is a cool look about it. And I'm just like, yeah, I would absolutely listen to anything he said. Just no question. So, but I will say this. The 2003 action figure of Splinter was amazing. So
Oh
I
yeah.
will definitely say that. So
That's
and
what I'm trying to get.
obviously you're a big collector. You've got some cool pieces behind you. What what do you kind of collect? Are you mostly into the 2003 series, or are you collecting everything Turtles? What's your wheelhouse for
Ooh.
collecting?
So I'll say that like, growing up, I was almost anything turtles I'll get, but now I'm sort of just trying to like limit it down to like the bare essentials now. I mean, I collect collect all the comics and try and go back and just try and fill out all the other stuff. But with actual toys, with the Playmate stuff, again, I'm sort of like now just limited it down to just like the bare essential ones, which I just want because it's a sad thing for me just because I love collecting all of them, but I don't really do all too much with them. Just put them in a box under my bed or something like that. So
Yeah.
just like, limit it down a lot more. And then like when the like now going into like the adult collector stuff, I love all that, but at the same time it's just way too much, way too expensive. So again, like I
Yeah.
limit it
Yeah.
down. And it's like it's so annoying just because I mean just because I want to prove like I'm a really big collector and all that, but then I don't know. Just because I would say that with some of the 87 cartoon stuff we've done, it's good, but I don't really care all too much for it. I don't mean that like a bad way, but like it's I don't have like the emotional connection with it. So
Yeah, and that's totally valid too, because I could say the same thing about Rise. Like, I'm glad Rise exists. I'm glad that there's different versions of this and that people find enjoyment on it. It's not for
Mhm.
me. You know,
yeah,
I really like the movie. I'll give them
Yes,
credit. I
movie
thought the
was
movie was fantastic, but like the rest of the series and the series as a concept, you know, if I had never seen it, it probably would have been the same. Like, I'd feel the same emotionally, you know, because it's not like none of those characters really spoke to me. And I'm like, okay, I don't really understand what's going on with the magic and all that. So, but that's fine. Like, somebody
yeah,
out there loves that, and that's awesome. And if it brings
my
them
son.
closer to the turtles, and they're gonna play the video games and stuff because of it, and buy the comics, more power to them, man.
yeah.
You know?
My son, he he's watching Rise this morning. So
Yeah, but he also watches the 2012 version with you,
he
and
watches
you
he
guys.
watches he watches 2012. I don't think he's not a fan of 2003, but he really hasn't watched it. But
See,
he
he
likes
didn't play the PlayStation 2 game like I did, where you have to go through and then it literally goes through all the stories. Because let me tell you, that's
I have, as you know, I have the
I
PlayStation
know, yeah,
2.
you're only missing what, 4 games out of
No,
all of
I'm
them?
missing 16 total.
Oh, six. Okay, all right, I was
I
off.
have 42 games out of 58 games on console in the US. So yeah,
And so he does mention something. Since we are in the U.S., do you have different versions of the comics that say like Teenage Mutant Ninja Hero Turtles, or actually what they couldn't say Ninja, right? Like, do you have any of those? Those are pretty good
Um,
collector pieces.
uh,
I mean, with the VHS tapes, I do have a few of those. Then actually, I got something here which they do have like um magazines, the 80s ones here.
Oh, fantastic! Look at that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
very beat up. But then which I was reading on something which a bit more quite interesting was the actual magazines themselves was like completely different from like the well, I was looking into this like the US ones were just taking screenshots for like 2003 show just taking screenshots of it and just more or less just printing the episodes. But with the actually got a copy of here of UK magazine, one which like the internet doesn't really know much about really. Um,
That's a cool magazine, by the way, that he showed us. I don't know if you got to see it, Eric, but
no, I didn't. But
oh, you've got the VHS of that one.
oh, I'm
I
so
just,
jealous.
I just recently picked this up too.
I'm so jealous. So yeah, another thing with the 2003 ones, we've got these UK ones,
Oh, wow.
and these ones are so like some of them are online. The first 11 issues, which had the fast forward stories, which I don't think, which like it was only in the UK these ones, and also had the colored versions of the 2007 comics. But with these two here, which are I'll say probably some of the rarest stories out there, is because there's only one page from issue 11 and also the cover, but also issue 13 only had the cover for it. So I'm very I'm looking really forward to like sharing those with
Wow.
online. And then even when I was reading a bit more into into it, with 2012 stuff, I was reading it's basically IDW didn't have the rights to release their comics over here. However, they did have. However, there was another company called Panini. They were releasing their
Yes. Yep.
ones, and they're very interesting.
I
So
I was bringing that up today because they used to release things here where you could buy stickers and you would put the stickers to complete like a page of it. And I
oh
mean,
yeah,
yeah, geez, I was just thinking I had one. I'm like, yeah. There's so many interesting things out there. I just learned today that there was a company in Argentina that had milk caps or something like that, and then they would do the same thing. And I'm like, is that a Panini book? Like, no, it's Argentina milk, and you get the little box tops and complete
Hmm.
your stories. I'm like, that's fantastic. I
wow,
want one. You know, I don't know how I'm gonna get it, but so.
yeah.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. We have very active lifestyles. It's not all wandering the countryside aimlessly or scaring passing motorists. And we all love a good cup of joe. And there's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. Bold, robust, delicious. It's coffee that can wake the dead. With over a dozen different roasts and flavors, Deadly Grounds can satisfy the most finicky of coffee addicts. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
So with these motion comics, do you have any plans of doing either The Last Ronin or Lost Years?
Oh, okay, so yeah,
You knew that was going to come up, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really know where you're going to ask him. Still a bit nervous, really. But with
Oh, okay.
the Last Run and stuff, yeah, I got done doing the visuals for that a few weeks of maybe last month, I think it was, and already in talks with one that the person who does the voice of Mikey in 2012 comics one. He is going to be doing the Mikey or Last Ronin in that one. But I'm just waiting to see how they play things out with the Lost Year, just so that I can sort of see the cast which I need for those two, then sort of work my way around that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, what do we got the next issue coming out this month, I think. So
Yeah.
or maybe next month. I don't know.
I think
I
it's
think it might have
next
been because the
Oh,
Lost Day is pushed off to June. I know that. So,
Cool.
but but then it's fun. You get to cast 4 new turtles, right?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a good time. So how long does it take for you to make an episode? Because I know there's got to be a fair amount of editing in these.
Yeah. So it can vary depending on the length. I'll say typically, I mean, we're doing like a normal 20-page one. I'll say roughly about a day ish. Vary to do the actual just editing the images, and then with the voices, I tend to do like just get like a bulk comics and send it off. So roughly I want to give them about a month and a half to like send their lines in, but then some of them they like fit, but like some of them they do forget lines, and some of them they are a bit like behind, but like it's okay because I've already got like stuff and to release just in case I don't have enough time to release these ones, and then about 6 to 8 hours ish as well to line up all the voices and then do the audio or the background music, and then just a little bit left for the sound effects.
Yeah, like the Foley stuff and
a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you an insider question? What program do you use for that? Like
So
Audition or Reaper?
so I use Windows Share Filmora X for the editing and the visuals. I use Photoshop. I know it's
Cool.
nothing really fancy, but it does the trick.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's great. Like I would have thought it would have been something crazy, but no, I mean Photoshop, that's fantastic. So that's awesome. I can't do what you do in terms of that. So I just play around with voices and stuff like that, and I have a vision of kind of where I want to go with things to make it like, okay, this is good. This is something that like someone can listen to with their kids. It's like that's it. That's kind of all I'm looking for. So but I like your stuff because in in um in my journey to start this, I was looking up at like copyright law and stuff like that, and they said that anything that you do has to be transformative in nature. And I feel like yours is because it's, not just the visual medium, it's a visual animated medium with individual voice acting and all that. And I think it's kind of cool. So, I don't know if you've run across the same issues with copyright as I have, but I try to read up on it.
No, I didn't really look into it. I just went with it, and if anything really came up out of it, then I'll do it then. And
Yeah, no, I
yeah,
get it. It's kind of the wait and see. So
yeah.
it's have you do you have any plans of getting some of the talent from right now, like maybe Kevin Eastman, Tom Waltz, or Ben Bishop, like Gavin Smith, any of those guys on your show to talk about the books, or maybe John Son, I can't even say his name, but he did the Turtles Adventure artwork, John Son Mavala or something.
I mean, to be honest, I'd love to get like anyone who works on tools onto anything really. I mean, I must admit, like sometimes I do feel as though if I do interviews a bit too quick beforehand. I mean, I did the interview during the bar before the annual come out, so I couldn't so I couldn't talk about him. So I couldn't talk about that. I also did the same with Casey Maloney, but then like with some stuff with Eric Burnham, no, no, Brian Revel. I talked to him about the Jenica stuff, which I got, which I was glad I was talking about that, but then but then afterwards I did the emotional because I was like, well, I wish I saw
Yeah. I totally understand that too. Brahm was interesting guy, man. And getting him to talk about stuff. He's really like as much as Tom Waltz is the father of Jenica, he's like the cool uncle that gave her personality. And just getting to talk to him a little bit, like when I was talking to Kevin Eastman, he's like, "Oh yeah, Brahm is like an artist's artist," and I totally see that because he's the guy. It's like, oh yeah, just kind of give him some room to go, and he's writing it, he's drawing it, and it's like, oh, this totally works. And it's like kind of like a Mike Mignola style a little bit, like a very reductive, but not like he doesn't put a lot of dark in there, like
yeah.
Hellboy. It's just like, but it's cool. And I was talking to him like this first Jenica series was awesome because the first time I've ever seen like social media posts used as explanation for a plot. And I'm like, this was really well conceived. And just getting to talk to him about like some of the stuff he does, like his guerrilla warfare book and all of that, the gorillas book. And I'm like, oh wow, this guy is one to watch. Like he is an absolute artist.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely.
and just an interesting character to have. We had him on the show early on, actually before Eric joined. And Eric Burnham, we just had 2 guests ago. That was great to get to talk to him about some stuff. And man, the Ghostbusters stuff that he did. I just pulled out the issues for Ghostbusters 2 because I haven't read that one, but it's surprising me that it's not being reprinted anywhere.
Oh,
If you go to look for the Ghostbusters Turtles crossover, the second one, it's incredibly expensive on anywhere you go look for it. It's not on Comixology, so anything like that, so you can't obtain it digitally. It's
Wow.
like, oh, what is going on with this? Like, did they cross some line or something, and it can't be, you know, uh, reprinted? Who
They cross
knows?
streams is what happened. They cross streams.
Oh, what was that?
They cross streams.
Oh yeah, yeah, maybe they cross the streams. Total particle reversal. It's bad. It's
Total
bad,
comical
right?
reversal.
I've been on a Ghostbusters kick for a while, so it's all good. But I didn't realize as well that when talking to Eric Burnham, like how many things that he wrote. Like he wrote as well the Turtles in Time crossover for IDW, and I'm like, oh wow, you did that with Sophie Campbell. It's fantastic. So yeah, but no, so that's cool. I mean, you've had some heavy hitters on there with Brom and with Eric. I mean, definitely.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Who's your dream guest if you could get him?
Oh, I mean, I feel like the obvious is like Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, but I think that's only because of like I say that's only because of what they've done and all that. But I mean, I'll say the like 4 actors for Turtles from 2003 show just be like a dream come true.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. Have you reached out to like Wayne Grayson or any of those guys? Because I know that they
I
do
was tempted
TV
to,
shows.
but I say like I never hear back. So I'll say that like sometimes I do get very creative, so I might have to get creative with trying to get in contact with them.
Yeah, I feel it. I definitely feel it. We haven't even really dipped our toes into the 2003 series at all. So
Mm-mm.
we'll get there at some point. We've talked to Ken Scott, who was in the movie. We talked to Francois Chow, who was in the second movie. So we've crossed that a little bit. Townsend Coleman was on the show, and I mean, he was awesome. Like getting to talk to him about things that were turtle related, and then things that were tick related. Oh man, that was like a dream come true. So, but I get you. Voice actors, a lot of fun. Eastman and Laird, I'm sure that would be amazing for us too.
We've
If
had
that was the
Eastman.
case, I feel like Peter, just as everything goes on, is just getting more and more reclusive. So, those who know him love him, but they also try to protect him. So, you
Yeah.
know,
I know that he's getting older, but I think he's starting to open up a little bit more. I don't know
yeah,
why.
the cartoon kayfabe that he just did
Yeah,
with
he's done
Kevin
quite a
and
few. Have you watched those? A cartoon series?
I've seen a few clips from it. I did just start watching them a bit, but then had some other things, and it's all just a case of just a case of oh yeah, I'll watch it tomorrow, but then never do.
Yeah.
It's I'm telling you,
I watched the first one.
to talk to. I mean, for them to talk to like Peter Laird. I mean, obviously he's got stuff going on, but just to hear him talk and explain stuff and go through all the books that him and Eastman did, especially you get Kevin and Peter together in an interview. I mean,
Dream come true.
yeah, yeah.
After meeting Kevin and like being like around him and all that for like a period of like 2 days and all that, I could not imagine anybody not liking that guy, not wanting to work with that guy and just spend like copious amounts of time working with him on comic books. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like, oh my god, like he's so easygoing and everything's just like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And then he draws like Raphael stabbing someone in the eye with a side, it's like something like that. I'm like, oh wow, so many dimensions here.
Yeah.
Eric had great experiences with him.
Yeah, like that's the whole thing. Like me, and my wife, we've met him twice, and I mean he's absolute. If he could, he would sign a bunch of stuff for free if he could, But there's also that fine line. But I have to say, that I was, my family was honored on his Facebook, where my son and my wife got a picture taken with Kevin Eastman because my son gave him a little it's like a little totem pole with like 4 turtle heads made out of Legos. So, I mean, he's just him, his wife, everybody is just, I mean,
yeah, Courtney's pretty great. I mean, she's just awesome for keeping everything the way that she does, and I mean, having to manage a bunch of like fanboys like us, and she does an amazing job because I nearly lost my shit.
Going. She keeps the line going, and she's a huge part of what Kevin does too. I mean, they're just amazing people. I mean, if you ever get the opportunity to get them on there and get that chance, I mean, I'm telling you, they are just the nicest people. It doesn't matter how mean you try to be to him. He's just going to put a smile on his face. I mean, it's whatever. You can't face him. He's really, really such a nice guy.
Seriously, you generally is an unfazed guy. I saw a video that was released recently, and someone was talking about how they went to see C2E2 and they like insulted him at his table. I'm like, I don't remember that happening. Like I was kind of like right there for a good portion of the time. I'm like, so this guy makes like a passing comment and all that. I'm like, he didn't get a reaction and he writes a clickbait video based on it. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, he got a bunch of views for it, which I think is because people were like,
good luck following up that video with some more content. Yeah, you could be one of those trolls complaining about like action figure accessories or something. So
I mean, it's that's the whole thing. Is like we sit here and we talk about, me personally, I'd like the 2003 a little bit more if I could actually watch them, just because of the simple fact of, I can't. They're on Pluto, but every once in a while on Pluto.
Paramount Plus has them.
See, I don't have Paramount Plus.
Yeah, if you had Paramount Plus
in the UK, unfortunately, the 2003 show is not on there.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No, and that's only my sign up.
No,
I quickly cancelled after that.
I would watch those. I would definitely watch those more. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the Rise. Like, everybody has their little thing. Like my son, he doesn't like the 2003. But he likes the old ones. He likes the 2012. The 2012s is probably one of his favorite ones and one of mine. And then watching, he like I said, he likes the Rise. But that's to everybody. But me and him, we sit down, we watch the Rise movie together, and we absolutely loved it.
And that's the same with my kids. Like we used to watch every Sunday morning the 2012 version. It's something that united us. And I don't know if they thought Dad was a little too much like Mikey or a little too much like Donnie, but it's a shame they never thought of it's all good. It's all good. I started collecting the 2003 series of action figures not too long ago, and I've got a good fair amount of them.
Mm.
Do you have a favorite, Teddy, of these that you've run across? And I will tell you that Leatherhead is awesome. He is huge. So he's in the Svante Ramiro, also very cool. I've got to get his horns though because mine doesn't have his horns. So
Oh, that's a really tough one. I mean, even though I have quite a lot of them, I don't know. I never really played with them. But like, I think like two that will I'll say like one that always comes to my mind is Fast Forward Leonardo. Just like growing up for years, I had all Turtles, I had Cody, Splinter, DuckTales, but I never had Leo, and it always annoyed me. And then one day I got him and just like,
Oh,
yay, like 3 years.
are they the ones? There's also the ones that like threw things like with magnets on them.
Yeah, yes. I had the Toes, Cody, Splinter, the Dark Toes from Fast Forward, and also had those throne ones, which I used that Leo as my Fast Forward Leonardo for quite a while.
I got to get a hold of those Dark Turtles at some point. So
They are like good. Yeah, they're incredibly expensive and really hard to find.
yeah, it's a thing. I don't know. We were talking to someone in Australia, and shout out to our listeners in Australia, New Zealand. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I see you on there. You make up 3% of our listeners. I appreciate you. But they reach out because they can't find some of these things because it's available on eBay, but they don't ship internationally. So sometimes we've helped them out with sending stuff. And let me tell you, Eric is the guy to talk to if you're looking for a cover. You're looking for their Last Ronin cover this or Lost Years cover that or something like that or anything variant cover. He's your guy. Like he knows that. But if not, it's like we know people. Like
we definitely know people. I definitely got some of them Ronin covers to come out their grave. They decided they want to be buried. So, but yeah, I mean, we do know people. If you're looking
it's
for
a great
something,
community, man.
yeah, it is. Most part of it, it's a great community. I mean, you got bad apples here and there, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I mean, even the epic shells, there's hardly any problems.
Oh, he's talking about the Facebook group that we have called Epic Shells. Yep, it's a positive place. We try to keep everything light and positive. We don't do sales in the group, so it's not like, hey, I'm looking for this, or hey, I'm selling this. So because I don't know what it is with Turtles fans, but it seems like there's a lot of like you buy a whole bunch of stuff and then sell it off. And I'm like, I don't understand the rationale. Like, oh my god, I got to make rent. I've got to sell these action figures that I bought. Like, why did you buy 5 NECA figures, man? It's like,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I can never be like that.
Yeah, it's it's tough. And I mean, a lot of times with this stuff, like if you look back on some of the early figures that they had, like the Mondos and all that, you can't even find them for like less than $700 now. Like the first Turtle action figure. So sometimes you got to jump on this stuff early. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any.
You're not. Yeah, I don't blame you. Now let's talk about the comics because you go through comics. You're doing a lot of the 2012 versions on there. You did the Jenica version. We talked a little bit about doing Last Ronin. What about the IDW series on there? Do you think that you would do like kind of like an origin story and start from there, or would you rather go back and do something like the Mirage Turtles?
Oh, okay. Okay. So with
a
that,
lot.
I'm doing a both Mirage and IDW one. So with Mirage one, I'm gonna take a lot more care down, and that was not gonna come out until next year, and I just like have a bit more time for that one. Also to match up with the 40th anniversary. But with the IDW one, because there's already a channel out there called Star Force Media, they're doing they done like the first 50 issues as well as all the other like time ones for like the first 50 issues. I just thought that it wasn't. I know. I don't think like I didn't really think it was like much. Or I don't think it was like worth like putting time and effort into doing something which like other people have already seen before.
Yeah, I
And
get
I know
that.
that like
Yeah.
this, and also like loads of people they like start or like they tend to do it again with like and their own cast, but then never really get past the first issue. And I don't really want to just go over that. So I started. I started in IDW1, and I started from the Sierra War story arcs, just so that I could lead into New Town, just lead up from there. And then I would say that, like, if I want to go back, then I can go back and fill in those issues from like Star Force Media to like my bit.
That makes sense, and I felt the exact same way. I'm like with all these people, like starting with Mirage, I feel like the IDW was so unique, and a lot of people didn't realize that it had a separate origin story where it's like, no, these are the reincarnated sons of Hamato Yoshi in turtle bodies. So like, what are you talking about? Well, that's why they know ninjutsu. That's why they, because they've trained their whole lives, and they're a reincarnation of that. So, but people were like, "Are you sure that's not like a rat or a guy that was mutated?" Because no, you're thinking of the cartoon or you're thinking of the movie. So I totally understand that. And to not retread the same waters, like, absolutely, I agree with you. So, and I love that you did Jenica just to, and like you said, Jenica is one of your favorite characters. That's so awesome. When people talk to me and they're like, "Oh, I don't really like the direction it's going in," I'm like, did you not see that Bebop and Rocksteady were challenged to a battle of the bands by Jenica instead of having a street fight? How is that not the most Ninja Turtle thing that you can think of? You know,
Yeah.
it really, I'm like, I'm surprised it wasn't Mikey versus Bebop in a pizza eating contest, because that's the other thing that I could think of. You know, actually, let me write that down. That's it's like, yeah, it's funny. I just ran across a couple people at C2E2 in Chicago, and I'm like, oh man, I got to get them on the show because they just did. They worked on this Bebop piece that I love, or they did this. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to talk to them about Bebop and Rocksteady hit the road. So just reminded myself that'll be pretty fun. Other thing I wanted to mention about is how we actually met. How I came into your sphere of influence. There is you have a project on Discord that you were doing, and it was kind of like a battle royale of sorts with all the different versions of the turtles from the multiverse of the turtles. And it was something like, okay, 2003 versus 2012 Michelangelo, or Last Ronin versus the Night Watchman or Night Watcher, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about that project and just where it's going and how it's going?
Um, okay, yeah. So, this is a project which, like a fan project, which I would like to one day actually make into like a full project, and it's supposed to be like Tales Forever 2, sort of, but unofficially. And I know that basically, like, whenever you get like to create like a movie or series, like the whole thing has to be, oh, the end of the world or something like big and something. And I didn't want to do something like that, and the full story of that with the Battle Nexus was right there. There's so much
Yes.
potential. Um, so I thought just do that and bring all those characters in, and it's surprisingly I have written majority of it. There's only one part which I'm missing is just the like the break between like the fights and one big interaction bit, because I'm not too sure, like, in terms of like, because like all different tools could react differently, and also not to mention like the people, like I would say, like guests I like to bring on. I just feel as though there's so much potential there. It's just I don't know. It's one of the things which I really like to do is just now I just need to try and find like the funding for it. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm I know with the motion points is that I hopefully like building up the like funding for it to like be able to like pay like the actors a little bit better money, but also to be able to like fund some other like better projects, I would say.
I like the idea of different versions of the turtles putting different things on their pizza, and because of that, you can tell their personalities, right? Like the last Ronin is aged and mature, and he's got very Japanese sensibilities. So maybe he's gonna put like edamame and like squid on his pizza, whereas like Mikey would put peanut butter and like salami. It's like, okay, so I like that sort of deviation with that, and I think that would be an interesting place too, to be like, okay, you can order whatever you want. What do you get? And you look at these guys, and it's like, maybe he's not even eating pizza. Maybe he's eating sushi. I don't know. I find those little kind of humanity aspects about the turtles really interesting too, because it's like you can learn a lot about them by what they eat or what they feed each other or what they feed their family. So
Yeah.
even though this is more about battles, but like some of the chats that we were having were really cool because we're like, all right, well, who's gonna win? Could like 2007 Raph, beat 2003 Leonardo? That's a friggin' slobber knocker, as they say where I'm from. Like that is a hell of a fight because you've got probably the top tier of that would be Leonardo, and the top tier would be that version of Raph. Because
Yeah.
even in like the 2012 versions, Eric, you want to weigh in on this? Who do you think takes it in that match?
I mean, come on now.
I I asked the wrong question. I'm sorry.
I have a bias.
The
I have a
real
bias
answer is they're both disqualified, and Michelangelo wins by accidentally hitting someone over the head with a nunchuck while it got
Well, I
stuck
was
in the
going to
ground
say, I
somehow.
mean, we can just do Donnie instead of Mikey because
Yeah, sure.
Donnie's always left out. My wife's like, Donnie gets left out on everything except for the games, except for the first couple games. Why? Because he's got the reach.
And that original '87 game, Donnie is the most coveted one that you have to hold because you can't beat the Technodrome without him.
Yeah.
Did you ever try to beat it with Raph? Good luck. What do? You spin the little thing above you? Good luck. Yeah. If you don't have scrolls, you're screwed. I actually sampled all that music. I have all of that music that I could put in an episode at one point.
God, please do.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I will have to do that. So, are you Teddy? Are you going to include the video game versions of the Turtles in this at all? Like maybe Shredder's Revenge and the arcade game or Hyperstone Heist?
So, that's one of the things which I was talking to one people on the server, the private chat. It's, I mean, it's just one of the things you can keep including all these turtles, but then you just have this very big cast of like over 40 characters. So, I mean, just like the original plan was to have the like 2003 was like Turtles, the Dark Turtles, and then but if you go with RW, you have like the Turtles slash Jenica, Venus, the new clone turtle. I mean, it's just sort of like where do you stop? And so, I mean, just like with just like I could include like the new Mutant Mayhem movie, but then it's always one of those things like where do you draw that line? So that's like the biggest challenge which I would say. But also I'd say that because I say that like, some fans you can get like very certain ways and just thinking oh yeah this character win because this and this, but like also if one of the things that like because like these characters haven't really fought on screen before. It's hard to say with the power levels and stuff like that, so it's just all so confusing.
I totally get that. I hope with anything like this that it's not like out of character, and I don't think that yours will be, but I have seen stuff like maybe like a year or two ago online. There was someone who was asking, they're like, here's a writing snippet. I'd love to see some art for this. And they were submitting it to artists. And it was a story about like how the turtles show up and then Rocksteady pops out of the wall and then Leonardo jumps and does a flip and then lands behind Rocksteady, stabbing him with his katana. I'm like, no. That doesn't happen at all. That never happens. That's not how it goes. I resist this idea. And I just it's like who does that? Like, do you understand who they are?
I mean, one of the things one more trendy things which I found wasn't like the I'll say the biggest trench was like you can write all the stuff, but I think it's like sometimes the comedy that's one of the biggest things which I found because like Rise is like very comedy focused. I mean I know that I could write in a certain way and I have my certain jokes, but I know that it might not connect with other people and stuff like that. It's a really hard thing to. And I think like the comedy aspect of it is like the hardest part because I'll say that I would like to say that I have a good understanding of the turtles, but I think it's just the comedy thing which I'm trying to balance out now.
I could see that, and you're a pretty jovial guy. You got a good sense of humor and all that, and it's funny because you got to balance it. It's like, all right, maybe Donatello makes a terrible pun, and then Raph is coming at him because he made an awful pun, and then Leo makes a pun back that's even worse. Something like that. And the nice thing is you don't have just one canvas. You've got 4 different canvases that you can kind of bounce it off of. So that's the fun thing. Can you see yourself writing a turtle story?
I mean, I have sort of like planned. I have like planned out I planned out like if I was to do one, I'll do like this, and this. And I know for like if like certain things in my one, which I'll say would definitely divide fan base. I mean, like one of the things which I'll do, which I think could be interesting, would be like make Casey and April like brother and sister. That way you can like keep the banter, but also bringing other characters in like Angel, Woody, and all that. And but I don't know. I've also that with like the stories which I like and telling are completely different to how like the rest of the fan base or like even tell stories have made.
I have an idea for Mondo Gecko as a noir detective who rides a rides a skateboard. See, there's no wrong answers here, fellas.
Yeah,
I'm a big Mondo Gecko guy.
That's the
No,
whole thing. Is like
I just came up with that at this moment. I generally. It was a dark and stormy night, dude.
I can see it. And then you have
Yeah,
little
you can
cigars
see it.
now.
You get the grayscale on there, so I love it. Have you had much opportunity to read the Saturday Morning Adventures at all, Teddy?
yes, I have. There were. I mean, I think that my opinions would be. I do think I wanted to be open minded, but I was still very critical of it because I know that like I think that because you grew up on it, you enjoy it more. But I think that for me, because I like 2003 and like stories to be more like story focused, character development and all that, and with
More
the
action,
Saturday
for sure.
Adventures,
Yeah.
it was very like that version of Turtles, which I think is like is it's really great. Like we'll get more stories in that universe, but at the same time, it's just like, well, it would have been great if they did this, and this, and this, and just. I do like it because it's Turtles, but it's one of those weird things that because I think it's just not my version of Turtles.
Absolutely. That's precisely why I asked you too, because it's like with this, it's is nostalgic for someone like myself who was watching, and I was 8 years old at the time, and I get it. And the cool thing is when we talked to Eric Burnham, he's like, yeah, you could definitely say that this is, maybe right before Shredder's Revenge comes out, so you could just look at this. I like the creativity, and I love about Turtles right now that they're pulling in all these things. Like IDW pulled in Toka and Razar, and they made them canon. I love that, and even if you don't like them or you don't like the movie or you're like, oh, I wish there's this, it's like, do you understand what they're doing right
Yeah.
now? Where they have the Nova posse, and they have Cherube, and like, oh man, that was
Yeah.
that was my era, like the Turtles Adventures. So like those comics that went off into a weird sort of like environmental message and all that. And I, that's my perfect Turtles right there. I'm like, give me just more of the Mutanimals. So, but yeah, no, that's really cool. And I was interested to get your take because it is very stylized and the art is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, amazing.
And hopefully we'll be speaking with the colorist of that book on our next episode. So hopefully we'll see if she's still available. But it's cool. But before we go, I have to ask because we've got a couple more crossovers coming up. We've got obviously right now they've got Power Rangers. You have any opinions or any thoughts on the upcoming Street Fighter crossover?
What okay?
I mean, okay, so things I never play Street Fighter. I know that it's a fighting game, but I won't really. I had no interest in the actual crossover itself. I think that if it wasn't for the YouTube channel, I probably would have skipped over it. I mean, just like with the Power Ranger one, when it first came out, I skipped it because I didn't really I didn't watch Power Rangers, but I say if it wasn't for the YouTube channel, then I would have. I'm not too sure. Like, I feel like I most probably would have still read it, but I just don't think I would have been as interested. And even now, like looking at the artwork for it, it looks amazing, but I just don't really care all too much for it. But I'm still gonna read it.
Yeah, I get it. I have been assured by someone who has seen the script that it's going to make sense. Because I didn't ask them if it was good, because what are they going to tell me? I said, does it make sense? Does it make sense that, Guile or M. Bison is going to be on the same level as Michelangelo? Because realistically, no. They would not even be close. And so I think that the artwork looks phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to that. and Stranger Things,
Yeah.
which is totally wacky to me. And
Yeah.
they're not talking about this one a lot, but I have a little insider information that it's coming because they're doing covers for it and all that. So I don't think it's going to be a long series. I think it's may even be a one shot or something like that. But what's your take on a Stranger Things crossover?
Well, I've only seen, I think, the first 3 episodes, and I also didn't. I also got out that show just because I don't really like blood and guts and all that. So, is I mean, again, I'll probably still read it because it's turtles, but yeah,
No, I get you. You know, they early in their tenure, you know, at IDW, they had some crossovers and all that, and they had the X Files in there. So you know, there's like some precedent for this. I was hoping that we get Transformers or GI Joe or something like that. We never did, you know, or Mask. That would have been fun. My Little Pony, which would have been obvious for them to do because of Mikey, you know, because he's a big fan.
Yeah.
But you know, they didn't quite do that. But I know that I think that with the golden age that we're in right now, where I was just talking to Eric about this, there's 5 turtle books on between like the Alliance, Saturday Morning Adventures, the Lost Years, the regular series, the best of, and now there's going to be, you know, these other ones coming out. We're back in the golden age. It's like there's more turtle books right now than Deadpool books. And when was the last time that happened? There's probably still more Batman books. I'm not going to lie. So,
yeah,
you know,
There's a Sugi. I mean,
yeah, it's Saki Yojimbo. Yeah,
it's like,
sounds amazing.
I gotta see that.
and
Yeah.
it's just like, I mean, they're pushing out turtle books.
Yeah,
They are
Yeah,
pushing out turtle books.
and you know, it's one of those things where it's like they're not all going to be amazing. You know, some of them may have some cool stuff in it and all that. And that's why I'm glad that, you know, there's places like Teddygaming Review to tell us about them and be like, hey, maybe skip issue 2 of Street Fighter. You know.
Oh
So,
yeah, must admit, like as a Turtle fan, like I'm absolutely happy about all these new toy comics coming out. But as a creator, it
yeah.
is absolutely hell because like, I mean, just because I want to do like one video a day, but then I'll try to do like, at least 2 videos on the comic book, but then when you multiply it by what, like 10 books a month or something like that,
Yeah.
it
Yeah, and
is
you're like, what am I gonna do? Skip
yeah,
the Alliance, or do I put the Alliance with issue 137? You know,
yeah,
it's I yeah, I totally get it. You know, I mean, there's worse problems to have, right? You know.
yeah. But like, I just wish it was easier for me.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I did. So, I always ask this because this is one of the defining questions. Do you get a chance to eat much pizza over there? And if
Yes,
you
I
do,
do.
what's your go-to pizza topping?
Okay, this is gonna sound really plain and boring, but I just like cheese, and that's only because I'm just a very picky eater, and
Nothing wrong
I
with
lo-
that, man.
yeah, I know, but like I never tried any other toppings on pizzas, so
Yeah,
As
you can have
long as it's
anything. I
not
mean,
pineapple, you're good.
we had a gentleman on from your neck of the woods named Kirk from Kirk Cooks, and he had a cookbook, and he recreated I want to say it was like 87 turtles, like all of the gross pizzas
Ooh.
from there, and he went and ate them, and he's like, yeah, only one of them made me physically revolted, and that was the liver and bubble gum. And it's
Ooh.
like you think about being picky, and it's like I would be picky in that case. So, but then there's others. It's like Kevin Eastman shared that he had the sweet pickles and coconut, you know, and he's like, it was actually all right. And I'm like, I will take your word for that. So
I will not eat it.
you would not. No, Eric would not eat it because he draws the line at pineapple. So.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm good with pineapple.
Oh, that's crazy. So, on that note, what we'll do is for everyone listening, we're gonna take a break and we'll come back with your pizza recipe of the episode. And I just want to thank Teddy for being here. Like I said, I'm a fan of your stuff, so I appreciate you being on our show. So, where can folks find you?
You can find me most places. Instagram it's Talking Turtles. TikTok it's Teddy.g review. YouTube it's Teddygaming reviews. Uh, Spotify it's Talking Turtles, and I think it's everywhere really.
Okay, excellent. And that's what I had in our show note on the bottom. So, Eric, any final questions that you have for Teddy?
No, I don't. It was definitely fun having you on here.
All right, so stay tuned, everybody, and I'll be right back with our pizza recipe of the day.
It's pizza time.
And now, in a segment that we call Pizza Time, where we discuss any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or pizza-related food, I give you Pizza Time.
Okay, so Teddy says that he is a picky eater, and I ran out of recipes for cheese pizza. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with his favorite turtle, Raph, in the recipe today, Raph's Waffles. When Raphael needs a cure for midnight munchies, he reaches for one of these bad boys. They're the perfect thing to chow down on when he's watching Bugzilla versus the Snail Monster or an Ace Duck movie marathon. Double the recipe if you've got a Michelangelo in the house. This makes about 2 waffles. Ingredients: 1 pound ball pizza dough, homemade or store-bought. 1/3 cup no-cook tomato sauce or store-bought marinara, plus more for dipping. 4 slim, thin slices of pancetta. 1/2 cup shredded low-moisture mozzarella cheese. Dried oregano. Extra virgin olive oil for brushing. Non-stick cooking spray for greasing. Instructions: preheat a Belgian or other 1-inch deep waffle iron to a medium-high setting. Cut the ball of dough into 4 equal pieces. Set 2 pieces aside and cover them with a damp dish towel. On a floured work surface, roll or stretch out the first 2 dough pieces to fit just inside the mold of your waffle maker. Step 4. Spread out a spoonful of marinara sauce onto one of the rolled or stretched out dough discs and spread it out, leaving a 1-inch border of dough all around. Step 5. Place the 2 slices of pancetta on top of the sauce and then half on the cheese. Sprinkle with oregano. Step 6. Brush the exposed border of the dough with olive oil, and then brush some more olive oil around the perimeter of the second rolled or stretched out dough disc. Invert the naked dough disc into the dressed one, and then pinch around the edges to seal. Brush the top with olive oil. Step 7. Open your waffle iron, it should be really hot by now, and coat it with non-stick cooking spray. Carefully invert the pizza dough packet into the iron, oiled side down, and brush the top with more olive oil. Step 8. Close the waffle iron and cook 3 to 5 minutes or until the crust is golden brown and a bit springy to the touch. This part is loud and messy as some of the cheese and sauce will bubble and ooze on the waffle iron. Step 9. When the waffle is done, remove it from the iron and repeat the remaining dough pieces and fillings. Step 10. To serve, fill a ramekin or small bowl with some marinara sauce. Cut the waffles into wedges or sticks and then serve them with the sauce for dipping. This has been your pizza time for today. Raph's Waffles.
Cowabunga, dudes!
Thank you for listening to the Epic Tales from the Sewers podcast. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. This podcast has no affiliation with Eastman, Laird, Mirage Studios, IDW Studios, Archie Comics, or Nickelodeon Studios. This podcast is a member of the Dorkening Podcast Network. Check out thedorkening.com for other podcasts. Epic Tales from the Sewers is recorded by Justin Cooper and Eric Will. Hello, intrepid listeners. This is the Generation Playlist Podcast, a podcast about music where we are your guides through a particular group or artist.
We talk about the music, and then we make a customized playlist to share with you, our listeners. And you can check us out wherever you listen to podcasts and find our playlists on Spotify.
It took me 10 years to make the perfect man cave.
And then we took it over. And we made it into the multiversal chamber.
Then I started my own podcast.
And we took that over too. And we're the co-hosts, the Multiverse Kids.
Yeah, and I'm the dad, the geeky dad. And every week, we what?
We review the movies, shows, and books, games, and toys.
Yeah, and sometimes we even have a special guest. So, join us every week on the Geeky Dad Podcast.
Do you like retro video games?
80s and 90s toys and have a love for nostalgia.
Hi, I'm Russ Lyman.
What's up, guys? I'm Jay, the NES addict.
Welcome to the Weekly Warp Pipe.
Jump into the Warp Pipe with us and go back to revisit all the awesome things from our childhood.
That's right. Every week we discuss something new, like the hardest NES games.
Or what it's like to get prizes out of cereal boxes.
What our top 10 toys were.
Battle Beast.
No, dude. It was Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah. Cowabunga.
So be sure to check out theweeklywarpipe.com for more info.
And we're proud to be a part of the Dorkening Podcast Network.
That's right, you can join us every Saturday at 7 a.m. for new episodes anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Or catch the video version on YouTube at the Weekly Warpipe channel.
That's the Weekly Warpipe every Saturday at 7 a.m.
The Weekly Warpipe.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Redoctopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite seems trying to say is that on Retro Redoctopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh. And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Dorkening Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Redoctopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
Do you like gaming?
You know, this game would be better if it was a battle royale.
Do you like technology?
I bet this tech would work better if it was a battle royale. Do you like movies, TV shows, and everything else that me and Nate can't agree on?
The Last Jedi was easily the best Star Wars film I have ever seen.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Everybody in this room is stupid now because of you.
Talking Gaming and Tech is a bi-weekly podcast where we cover the latest, greatest in gaming and tech.
Now part of the Dorkening Podcast Network.
Talking Gaming and Tech is a podcast produced by Tech Prime Media. You can find us on YouTube and all other social media platforms. You can find Talking Gaming and Tech on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
This podcast is filmed live.
If you want to check us out while we're filming live, remember to follow links on social media and your comment might be read on air.